All right. And we're here on the Poduty Festival. Definitely appreciate Jeff, Maria, and my NFC Beast brethren, Wise, here. And we're here Saturday, Sunday, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I am the host of the Couch Coach Live podcast. We just celebrated our 10th year anniversary on July 19th. Uh, this journey has been phenomenal. It's kind of, I always look at this as like my pet project. This is my baby. This is something that I put my blood, sweat, and tears in, and pretty much that's as far as the emphasis of Couch Coach Life, as far as the emphasis of it. Where it kind of really began, when I was a teenager, I had a childhood friend. Shout out to my guy Quentin. He gave me a nickname, Couch Coach, and basically we were just playing Madden one day, and then me talking, when you play video games, you kind of coach the guys up on the video game, and I did that similar. So he gave me the nickname a Couch Coach. So that's how the nickname came from. And then I always have had a passion of talking sports, and then I finally took that leap. It started in 2011, so with that, and then essentially the name of Couch Coach Live, it came from a dinner napkin idea. Essentially, it was because I was in the process of creating a show, and I was like, well, okay, I had three names. It was Sports Weekly. I don't remember the second one, but I know the third one was Couch Coach Live. So that's where, and then at the time, I had people vote on it, and only like three people voted for it, and it was like a 2-1 decision where it was Couch Coach Live. So that's pretty much how the podcast started, and from there, it has taken leaps and bounds like no other. I never thought in a million years that I would be able to have a show for 10 plus years, and then consider the fact that hey, I'm media credentialed and in so many areas, especially here in the Richmond, Virginia area. I am a full season media credential for the Richmond Spiders of the USL League One league in soccer. I'm also VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University. I'm a full-time there as far as a season media credential for the men's and women's basketball team, and then also for the University of Richmond football team. So, yeah, and that's the thing about all this, just this podcasting alone. It's such a great journey. I think it's one of the things where you really it's when you first get into it, and you first think it, you never think that you could get to certain levels, and I think doing this for this long and having the consistency has definitely helped that. And it definitely has been a great journey as far as being able to meet people. I've met so many people that I consider, even if I was to quote unquote retire, pull an MJ, and retire, that I would have them as longtime friends, even if I wasn't even in the business. So that's what I look at it from that perspective, and it's just been a great journey. So let's talk about. I want to kind of since we're at the 4 o'clock hour, I will give you some scores, some finals as they go final. But before we kind of get into my inner Scott Hansen, in the sense, not the red zone kind, but more so a final zone. So we can't give you the 1 o'clock window games will be on as we do that. But I definitely wanted to kind of talk about yesterday, kind of one of the biggest takeaways in college football that I had yesterday. As many of you watched the Alabama Georgia game, when you looked at it on the surface, it looked like it was, as far as Alabama up with a 21-0 lead. I know a lot of people was like, yeah, maybe this game is over. Maybe I need to, go to bed early. It would have been a great window. I would say about 9:30, 10 o'clock window where this game looked like it wasn't going to be any game. And then, with the comeback. So obviously Alabama being up 21-0, Georgia comes roaring back with 2:18 left, 2:31 left in the game. Georgia scores and to make it 34-33. Now, mind you, Georgia only had the lead for 14 seconds. 2:18 comes, and Jalen Milroe throws to who I think will be the greatest Alabama wide receiver of all time in Ryan Williams. A 75-yard connection to essentially the game-winning score for Alabama as they beat Georgia. And it was a hell of a win. And you look at, if you dive into college football as far as Georgia and its dominance they've had these last few years, the only team they really have lost to, has been Alabama as far as in a meaningful, in a sense, game. So that was a huge win for Alabama, especially considering the fact Georgia taking the lead in the final 2 minutes. But as I mentioned, Ryan Williams, in my personal opinion, will go down as the greatest Alabama wide receiver of all time. And it's only going to be contingent of a few things. I think if he stays, if he doesn't hit the transfer portal, if he goes to Alabama for 3 years, if he stays for 3 years, to go to NFL and have 3 years on his resume, he will be the greatest wide receiver in Alabama history. You look at with Ryan Williams, he's only 17 years old now. He's 17 years old. Now, imagine he's going against 17, 18 to 22-year-old guys. This man can't go out, and after the game last night, he couldn't go out and grab a beer. Heck, he can't even vote in 40-some days. He won't be 18 until February 2025. And the numbers that he has put up, even in the game yesterday, I think it was like 170, I think it was 166 yards, receiving, and they had the one touchdown. But just what he has done, he had 177 yards last night, and then he had the one touchdown. And you think on the season, he has 5 touchdowns already. So in the 4 games that Alabama has played, he's had at least one touchdown. I know the first game against Western Kentucky, he had 2 touchdowns. Now you think to yourself, if he's on this pace, think about it. They're only 4 games in. You still got, 8 games left. Then you got potentially the SEC championship, because I think at this point it's there. And then what if they go to the playoff? And then so you imagine if they go to playoff and you essentially have 3 rounds, essentially. So you look at it, or it could be 2 if they get the bye. But think yourself, you get more games as well. And combined with that, I mean, he could be on the pace if you put it in that, and if it's to a point where he goes to the national championship game, he could literally potentially, if he's on his pace, to potentially having 16, 17 touchdowns in one season, which would be, great for a guy that, even if he plays a national championship on January 20 of 2025, he still be 18 years old. I mean, 17. So he won't be 18 even the date of the national championship on January the 20th, which is just mind-boggling to say the least. And he goes in, and I know people think, Alabama, especially in this as of late, has had some great wide receivers. Obviously, you had a guy, Devonta Smith, who was a Heisman Trophy winner. It's like, how can he be better than that? I definitely think he could get there. It's all contingent on if he stays all 3 years, which more likely he will. I don't envision him transferring. And then also, health got to be into factor as well. If he remains healthy, stays at Alabama for 3 years, because obviously with the NFL, you have to play at least 3 college seasons. So in order for him to be draft eligible, he would have to play 3 years. If it's at Alabama, he will. I think, to me, he will be the greatest wide receiver in Alabama history. It goes down the list of like Calvin Ridley, Jared Judy, Julio Jones, and Amari Cooper. So I definitely think he will fit in that mold as far as the greatest Alabama wide receiver of all time. So I think we are almost at the point where we're about to get some finals here in the National Football League. So I want to try to channel my inner Scott Hansen, if you will, in this short window here. So we got a few scores so far. Let's see. So we don't have any finals at the current moment. We do have Jacksonville is up 20-17 with 30 seconds to go as the Houston, Texas is driving there at the goal line, so something potentially may go down with that with 22 seconds. So we'll kind of monitor that as well. But we also have some games getting ready to start up. Obviously, my beloved Washington Commanders are on the road facing the Arizona Cardinals. That game is coming up shortly. Then you also, at the 425 window, you have the Cleveland Browns going to Las Vegas to face the Raiders. And then you also have the Chiefs heading to LA as they face the Chargers. But we have a great slate of games this weekend. And even tonight, you also have the Buffalo Bills, a surprising 3-0 start to the season for my personal opinion. Because it's weird because I thought the Bills someone's going to somewhat regress, but the Bills are 3-0, and they play a Baltimore Ravens team who just had their first win over the Dallas Cowboys, and now it's a kind of a pivotal point for the Ravens to kind of get out of that 0-2 start they have. Maybe they can get right at 2-2 and literally be in the thick of the AFC North race as we speak. So then also you have the Seahawks and the Lions, which it's going to be that's another great game. Obviously, when you look at it from the Seahawks, another surprising 3-0 start. Seeing what Mike Macdonald has done, the former defense coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, is now the head coach with Seattle. What they're doing, then also with Detroit, they're 2-1. I know they had an interesting game against Tampa where they lost and then ended up going to Arizona last week and getting a crucial road win. So you just look at it just from that standpoint. And so we do have one final now. We have the Atlanta Falcons with a 24-26 win, and Kirk Cousins, 21 for 35, 238. Didn't throw a touchdown, but he did throw an interception. So now the Saints, you're looking at them now at 2-2. They were somewhat that darling. They started off 2-0. They had the fire start against Carolina. And then I forgot who they played that second week. Now they've lost back-to-back, lost to Philly last week, and then now lost to Atlanta Falcons, a divisional rival. And the Chicago Bears won by the final score of 24-18 over the Los Angeles Rams. So once again, Caleb Williams gets another win, 2-2 on the season. 17 for 23, 157, and one touchdown. But definitely a better performance than he has in the previous games that he had. And that's their team that's right in the thick of the NFC North at 2-2. Good spot where you want to be. And then you look at just the Rams now at 1-3, where you look at it, just they have had a pretty rough start. Obviously, they had to win last week against San Francisco. Then had that embarrassing loss 2 weeks ago to Arizona. So it's kind of one of those that 1-3. It's going to be rather interesting. And I know we talked in the opening as far as it may be rough for Steelers fans. It got a little rough. We thought it was going to be a situation where the Steelers was going to come back in this game, but they ended up losing 27-24. So now the Pittsburgh Steelers have lost a game. So then now the biggest concern is the health of Anthony Richardson, who left the game with a hip injury. So now Joe Flacco, which they use him early. Normally we want the Joe Flacco like maybe like after Thanksgiving, first week of December. Now we just want to see how he progressed and potentially with that as well. Do you got the Buccaneers with a statement win? I think, in my personal opinion, at 3-1, beat the Philadelphia Eagles 33-16. And it's funny in the preseason, I looked at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a team that potentially was going to be on the outside looking in from the playoffs. So obviously, we look at the additions of the Atlanta Falcons, the Kirk Cousins, Matthew Judon, the kid, the safety from Denver, I think Simmons. So I definitely thought this was going to be like a one-team race potentially. But now you look at it now with Baker Mayfield. I know definitely I thought, with them losing Canales, as his offensive coordinator, going to Carolina as the head coach, I thought that was going to be something that was going to be a hindrance for him. But Baker Mayfield, just another great game, 30 for 47, 347, and 2 touchdowns. he has stepped up, and I know a lot of people looked at Baker Mayfield, especially from the jump, in his Cleveland days. He's overrated. He was the number one overall pick. Everybody thought that then he went from one situation, then went to Carolina, looked horrible in Carolina, but as we can see, everybody, and that's just kind of looked a little bit a little bit terrible in Carolina, but and then he has some, and I know he had a good game when he went to the Rams on a Thursday night. That kind of helped, and then pushed forward here in Tampa Bay. They're now, to me, they're kind of a continuum of what they did last year. I mean, that's another one where this was a playoff rematch of last year, where the Bucks did win the NFC South last year and then beat the Eagles in the playoffs last season in the wild card. So, yeah. So let's look at this from that standpoint. Yeah, Tampa Bay is definitely even in these 4 games, you can definitely see what they're doing there. Baker's doing his thing, and then defensively as well. So Todd Bowles definitely doing a great job there in Tampa Bay. So we definitely have to give him, some a huge shout out to him, because just the simple fact of how I looked at Tampa Bay as a team. I definitely didn't think they were going to get back to kind of where they are now, and they're firmly in place, 3-1, and they're just doing their thing there as well. So let's see. Do we have any more? We got. Let's see. We might have a final. Almost. We have a final brewing. We'll get to that momentarily. But we'll also have some games currently that's still in that 1:00 window that's still going on. We got the Denver Broncos and the New York Jets the Denver Broncos has a 10-9 lead. It is literally a baseball score here there. So it is the Colorado Rockies and the New York Mets playing in New Jersey. So that's concerned. So it looks like here where we have Cincinnati and Carolina. Cincinnati's on their way to their first win of the season. They have a 34-24 lead with 48 seconds left to go, as Carolina has the ball, and that would be a huge win for the Cincinnati Bengals, a team that I really thought was going to be contenders. I didn't necessarily was going to have them, going to Super Bowl 59. I thought they was going to be a team that probably was going to win the division, especially now having Joe Burrow back. Obviously, last year I think they was 9-8 without Joe Flacco, and now potentially here where they could get their first win. Obviously, it has not been the best stretch for them in these first 4-game stretch. Obviously, the loss to New England at home at that time. So you look at that. Then the heartbreaking loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, where they played well enough to win that football game, and then obviously what happened last Monday, where the Washington Commanders came in there and beat them on Monday Night Football. So so that's concerned. So yeah, so that we don't have any more finals as of now. Oh yeah, we do have one other final. So we did have the Houston Texans hanging on to beat the Jaguars 24-20. So once again, the Texans, a great win, and Jacksonville Jaguars start the season 0-4. This is going to be Jacksonville Jaguars is going to be a very interesting team going down the line. An 0-4 record. I definitely think Doug Peterson. It's funny, we say as far as who's a coach is on a hot seat or a coach most likely to be fired in season. It's starting to really look like not Joe Burrow, but Doug Peterson will be that. So yeah. And I have in a weird way, I kind of have a little spicy take when it comes to Jacksonville Jaguars, who could potentially be their next head coach. I said I wasn't going to say it until like after the coaching situation, until maybe January, or maybe if Peterson gets fired, which I definitely think at this point at 0-4, the way this team is set up, you pretty much paid $250 million to T-Law. So I definitely think that's going to be an interesting what they're going to do with the team. I don't necessarily think they got good pieces on this team, so I definitely think I wouldn't be surprised, and I say this now, this is September 29th, 2024. I wouldn't be surprised if um, Bill Belichick lands in Jacksonville. I know a lot of people connecting the Dallas Cowboys with him, this, that, and third, but I definitely think Jacksonville, because I think if he goes to Jacksonville, he had the full autonomy. He has a great roster. I think when you look at it just from the standpoint, even from an offensive and a defensive standpoint, I just think the message has gone flat in Jacksonville. That could be a quick fix for a guy like a Bill Belichick, where he doesn't necessarily have to rebuild. Because if you think about it, he was literally this close to becoming the Atlanta Falcons head coach. So if he was able to willing to take that roster that Atlanta has, which is a great roster, don't get it wrong, but I look at that Jacksonville, and then it would be perfect, because you just think to yourself, now you've all the other teams have improved. When you look at how the improvement of the Texans, the team that they just lost to, you look at what they're doing, and then now with this Indianapolis Colts situation, where it's a little, a little kind of shaky at best, but you're starting to lose your grip, and in the NFC. I'm not NFC, but the AFC South. So I look at that as well. So we have another final. We have the Denver Broncos going to the Meadowlands. Not the Meadowlands. Wow, it's not the Meadowlands no more. It's not the Meadowlands, but at MetLife to beat the Jets 10-9. Once again, Bo Nix. He's another one where I was really kind of like, let's do them play, put him in bubble wrap, let Bo play in 2025. But Bo Nix, once again, 12 for 25, 60 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. Obviously, we know the numbers aren't as sexy, but hey, he gets the win. I think when you look at it, when you just look at the score, 10-9 is literally a baseball score, but they got the job done on that. So huge, huge win for the Denver Broncos. Will Lutz kicks a 47-yard field goal, so they end up winning by the score of 13-9. Pardon me. So it was a 13-9 win for the Denver Broncos, and they move on to 2-2. They're another team where it looked like it was doom and gloom in the beginning. I mean, you just look at it just from the standpoint of how, the unceremonious, departure of Russell Wilson. So you definitely thought that could have kind of carried over. That's concerned. So, it just happens. But yeah, but definitely the Denver Broncos, and the Bengals did end up winning 34-24. So definitely a huge shout out to the Bengals getting their first win on the season. So yeah, I think we let's see. I don't think we have any more finals. We just we'll probably have a final for Minnesota and Green Bay shortly. They're in the fourth quarter with 1:56 left, as the Minnesota Vikings are leading 31-22. And and if they hold on to win, this Minnesota team 4-0, and you got to think to yourself, this is another team that I'm really shocked what's going on with the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings, I think this is just a testament to Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, obviously Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold was another one where we looked at Sam Darnold and was like, many people looked at him as a bust. He's another one of those, the class of 2018 quarterbacks who a lot of people look like this may not work out. But now he's found a home. And then I think even coupled with the J.J. McCarthy injury, where he didn't necessarily have to, have somebody looking over his shoulder. If he had a bad performance, they'll boo him and bring in J.J. Chance. He don't necessarily have to worry about that. So I think he's in such a great position. And what they're doing is impressive. And that's one thing when you look at it. It's another great performance. This is what he has thus far. 20 for 28, 275 yards and 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. So he had a phenomenal game. He's been having a phenomenal year, and it's a good thing. I think when you look at just the progression of guys, I think when you look at these young quarterbacks, I think they would be in technically their 7th year in NFL. And a lot of people, we're so quick to throw guys out and say, if you have one bad year, you're a bust. these guys have gone through the rigors of teams and gone through stuff, and now they are poised. And I think that's one thing where we got to stop throwing away guys just because they had rough starts in the beginning, and we all know in our and we all know that these guys aren't properly developed. And I think sometimes we have to really realize, hey, we gotta give these guys a chance. We gotta give these guys an opportunity to develop and grow. But that's another shout out to him. And I think that's pretty much all of our 1 o'clock window games. As we mentioned, the Falcons get the win over the Saints. The Bears get a win over the Rams. The Steelers get a win over the Colts over the Steelers. Then the Broncos and the Jets. So, yeah, we've discussed all of the 1 o'clock window games. And, yeah, so we're going to do, we'll put a bow on our, I call it my final zone. Like Scott Hansen has his red zone. I had the final zone. So I give you guys the final zone coverage for week 4 in the 1 o'clock window time slot of the NFL season. So definitely check out our podcast live every Wednesday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So check us out there. Me and my co-host, shout out to my co-host Maui. He joins us every week on Wednesdays from 8 Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're there as well. Definitely check out our website, couchcoachlive.com, our YouTube page, Couch Coach Live, as well. And I'll drop it down on the link here momentarily. I'll drop that here. So pretty much if you want to check us out, probably the best thing is probably couchcoachlive.com, the website, because the website pretty much has everything. It has links to our live feeds on social media. Also have our articles. We publish a few articles and we do game recaps of the games that we cover. So primarily game recaps of University of Richmond football, VCU men's and women's basketball. We also do some Commanders articles. So we do that as well. And also the YouTube where you can check out, we have shorts, also some other exclusive content, so different content besides like the Couch Coach Live. Like we just did one. I did one on the want to kind of do something different. I did a taste test on the new Coca-Cola Oreo cookies and the drink. So something different. Just try, I always want to do something a little different and kind of spice things up, but also there as well. So definitely appreciate everybody for checking us out today and for my edition of the Final Zone. I try to channel my inner Scott Hansen, but we are here and definitely I always look forward to this event and definitely looking forward to it next year as well. So, yeah.
Ooh. Hello, welcome
What's
back.
What's going on?
Yes,
I got to say, hosting, I'm not always up with the scores, and I thought the Steelers were down when you took the stage, and I looked at the score right after we got off the stage. It was only 24-27. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah,
we were mounting a comeback, but we did not. We were not successful with that comeback. Well, 3-1 isn't bad for where we thought we'd be with the Steelers team.
This is true. But I've been pressuring a lot of people, so I'm going to pressure you. So next year, we already got the dates, the 27th and 28th. I know you live in the DMV. It's a little not that far. You're still on the East Coast.
Okay.
But, you need to come down and do it live from Poduty Theater.
Yeah,
It's Pocono distance, I think. It's about the same distance as the Poconos.
So,
okay. Okay.
We need you to come down and do it live. We're trying to get plenty of shows live.
We just started announcing
and
that they're going to be here live.
in living color.
Yeah.
Great virtual.
Okay.
We want you to experience the whole theater. We want you to come down here and check out the theater. And
so next year, the
and-
Couch Coach
Yeah.
live on stage.
Yes.
All his posts are going to have the hashtag not negotiable.
Yeah. We're just going to start advertising it out. Who all is going to be live on stage?
We're giving everybody a year's time. 1 year. You have a year. I don't want to hear no excuses. We telling you now. next year, Poduty Theater live on stage. We want y'all here. So
are we gonna have a couch? I mean, that's a thing.
We will.
we might
can-
have to get him a couch if he
Yeah,
wants
like a
one.
couch.
Hey,
The stage is fully customizable. You're welcome to bring your own stuff. You want to load up, hang your shirts up. We'll make it just like your studio, but
Oh, yeah.
live in front of an audience. So, Chris, thank you so much for joining us again. This has got to be the third or fourth time we've worked together on different festivals, and just so grateful for you to make it another one.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
We got your links, Couch Coach.
Right.
Check them out. YouTube, Couch Coach Live is the best one. CouchCoachLive.com was the best way to connect. So make sure you look up that website, go take a visit.